Now, one of my favorite people I run into at the Fox News studios in New York is Rick Ungar. He's a Fox News analyst, and he is there to give the left side of the argument. Important if you're going to call yourself fair and balanced, correct? So I invited him here on Smart Life today to get his take on a few things going on in the world and to have a little fun, because this guy is a lot of fun. Welcome to the show, Rick Ungar.
How are you, Dr. Gina?
I am so delighted to have you on my show. What an honor. And I know I'll get email for that from my conservative friends, but they don't know you in person like I do. And I think that we can get along.
I want to know if I can watch myself on TV here in New York while I'm talking to you.
You should be able to. You actually should be able to. So yeah, so there you go. And if not, we can always help you out with a podcast. Recently, of course, the unemployment, again, is a great concern. I know it's a concern. Doesn't matter whether you're liberal or conservative. Nobody wants people to be unemployed. But the disability money that we are spending as a nation is at an all-time high. We're catching up quickly with Cuba. And I just wonder what your take is on that. Is there a good answer for that from a liberal perspective?
Well, that's the problem. See, that was a terrible question to start out with, because I'm going to sound more like a conservative. Look, what's happening with the rising disability claims is really very, very simple. Because so many people have fallen off of unemployment, both because of natural expiration and because of Congress, I should say, the Republicans in Congress' unwillingness to extend the benefits, people who are kind of desperate are now filing disability claims that they probably should not be filing. So what's happening is they're behaving, in many cases, fraudulently, and this is driving it up. That's not a good thing. The better answer would have been to extend the unemployment benefits.
Hillary recently did the Twitter thing with the hashtag Bring Back Our Girls. There, of course, was a media frenzy over this whole thing, Rick. I wanted to just get your take on it. Has Twitter become our new diplomacy?
No, and I have to tell you, I got into this pretty intensely with my friend, or our friend, I should say, Sean Hannity. I think that what Sean and Rush and everybody did on this was really a big mistake. Look, we're not conducting diplomacy on Twitter. What you had happen here was something that began in Africa, something people don't seem to understand. The whole Twitter campaign began in Africa. It came over here, people who were concerned got involved, and it would never have been a big fuss if it weren't for the fact that Michelle Obama got involved and took a picture of herself holding the hashtag sign, and all of a sudden the conservative media is jumping all over it. That's unfortunate, because expressing yourself like that or in any other legal way is as American as apple pie. Look, when the Tea Party began, there were some great Twitter campaigns with the hashtag Don't Tread on Me. Now, whether or not I agreed with everything that they were saying or suggesting isn't the point. I kind of dug the fact that here you had all these people who were taking advantage of social media, in this case, to express their point of view. That's what this country's all about. So I really think it's unfortunate that it went down that road. Americans should always be encouraged to express their point of view, whether you agree with them or disagree with them. That is so fundamental to who we are. And there wasn't any diplomacy being conducted. Anybody who they don't have anything to say about what happens diplomatically. It's overblown, and it's too bad.
And so speaking of diplomacy, I just wanted to ask you, I want to get your take on Benghazi. I know you're so tired of conservatives bringing that up, Rick, but we really, really do want answers. And it's really hard for people to understand how this has gone on so long, how so many questions are unanswered. In a nutshell, I just wanted to get your take on how that's been handled by this administration.
Well, my perspective is just a little bit different, I think, and it's based partly on my instinct, but anybody can certainly disagree with, and information that my own research has managed to uncover, but not stuff I can really talk about. Therefore, anything I say can certainly be suspect to your audience, understandably so. What I think is we are not hearing the truth about Benghazi, but for a reason that if people would step back and think about it, might make more sense to them. I am absolutely convinced that there was a CIA operation going on in Benghazi, and we have lots of details and lots of facts that we do know that really bears out that the Benghazi consulate, and more importantly, the annex down the street, was absolutely a CIA way station. I think that what happened there was part of, even if it wasn't part of what was going on there, what was going on there was the sort of thing that the government never tells us about, and you and I might agree should never tell us about, because they're involved in operations that you don't want the bad guys to know we were doing. So this is what I think is going on. What I find disturbing is that while I know some really good Republican members of Congress who have kind of been very careful about this, because I think they know what was going on, others have chosen instead. And when I say others, I mean somebody very close to your studios down there in San Diego, Daryl Issa, have decided to use it as a club to beat up on Obama when they know full well that it was something we couldn't talk about. I think someday we're all going to know this. It's going to be a while, and until then, the president's got to take the heat. Now, there were parts of it, I will say, that I think they mismanaged. I will say that. I think there was a reason this all happened, but I think the way that they chose to deal with it was unfortunate. I would have much preferred that they simply would have stood up and said, this is a national security matter. I know it's frustrating to you that we can't give you all the answers, but that's how it has to be.
To what do you attribute the fact that they didn't have the requested reinforcements?
I think a few things. For one thing, if I'm right about what was really going on there, reinforcements, the last thing they would want. The whole point of CIA operations is to do what you're doing with as few people as humanly possible. If that's the case, it makes all the sense in the world that they would not have these reinforcements, and in fact that they would want to keep people away from it. This is one of the clues, in fact, I think that tells us what might have been going on there. I'm not going to sit here like many Democrats do and say, oh, this is all Congress's fault because they didn't allocate enough money. Nonsense. That's not what this is about. This is about something going on there, and I really think I know what was going on there, but I'm just not comfortable talking about it because I can't prove it, although I've gotten really, really good information on it. It's exactly the kind of operation that wouldn't have a lot of people around.
So we have the situation with the veterans hospitals. This is a debacle, no matter how you slice it. This has happened under Obama's watch. Benghazi, we've discussed that. Fast and Furious is another, and I don't mean to rapid fire them at you, but now we have and he's finally addressing, I guess, the Veterans Administration, the hospitals situation, but a little too little, a little too late in a lot of people's minds.
We're not addressing it. I'll take exception to that. We are not addressing it. What we're doing is absolutely nothing about it.
I didn't mean to say we're addressing it. I meant to say he's at least answering some questions now. Did a press conference. I mean, that's more than he's done ever before. So a lot of people are giving him a pass. Well, now he's fixing it. But it's gone on way too long, and people died over this.
It's gone on. I mean, it's not even just. I wrote an article today that maybe your listeners will want to go read. It's at Forbes.com, where I discuss this very thing. And I point out why I view what's happening at the VA and the scandal that is already coming from it, and I think is going to get much harder and much worse for the White House, is different from IRS and Benghazi scandals. I'll let them read it themselves to see what I meant. But I have been a huge critic of the Obama White House when it comes to the VA, and I continue to be. I also have been a huge critic of how Congress has handled the VA, and I continue to be. Look, a lot of people in this country love to walk around, crowing about how exceptional we are as a nation. I want someone to explain to me how we can ignore our veterans, how we can allow them to go into foreign wars, put their life at risk, fulfill their commitment to us, and then ignore and ditch them when they come home.
And Rick, I so don't want to interrupt you, but I so want you to include in what you're going to say, because we only have about a minute left, the Marine in the Mexican jail. I'm getting ready to coordinate a rally in support of getting him out. Why the heck can't Obama make a phone call on this, my friend?
Well, I would tell you that he already has, and that's going to end very soon.
I hope you're right.
I lived in Mexico for 7 years of my life. I know how things work there. that Marine will be out in no time.
Boy, I sure hope you're right. That's an encouragement. Rick, I sure appreciate you coming on this show. You're used to jumping right into the fire, and we sure do appreciate you here at Smart Life. Tell us where we can find you and all your work.
You can find me at Forbes.com, and I really do recommend today's piece for everybody, and of course on Fox News and on the Steele and Ungar radio show on Sirius XM POTUS 124 every Saturday morning at 11 a.m.
Awesome. My good friend Rick Ungar, thanks for being with us today.